welcome.
All right, so I guess first we should go through a quorum as far as who has read the meeting invites and how this works.
Yep. So, Patrick, if you could just call the meeting to order and we'll do roll call. So I'll do that.
I'd like to call the meeting to order.
Okay.
And do a roll call. I have present Tiffany O'Connell, myself, Maria DeAndrea, Guy Norris, Chris Groff, Othniel Sierra, Greg Naddison, and Christopher. Anybody else? No, I don't think so.
Okay. Then I'm going to try and pull up the agenda here. Just give me a minute. Okay, can you guys see the agenda? No? Okay.
No.
Seeing an email
Okay.
or your calendar item, I guess it is.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I pulled up the wrong thing. Okay.
Choosing the right item when sharing my screen is one of the higher stress moments of my day. I feel like I always get it wrong.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to pick the wrong thing, you know.
Yep.
Right.
Here we go.
Here we go. So,
Okay.
yeah, we'll start at the top here. So we don't have anybody on for, oh, excuse me, we'll do approval of the minutes before you move on to public comment.
Yeah. Has everyone read and want to approve the minutes? Do I get a hear ye from somebody?
I move to approve the minutes from the last meeting of the Inglewood Transportation Advisory Committee.
Okay. Do I have a second?
A second.
All right.
I'm sorry, who is that? Greg?
Greg. Yeah.
Okay. Then Patrick, you can just say all those in favor, please say aye.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 I think we have to do a roll call on the
Oh, you're
votes.
right. You're right. Sorry. So Knaddison,
Aye.
Diedrich,
Aye.
Aye. Tiffany?
O'Connell, and Lewis.
Aye.
Great. That passes unanimously. Okay.
All right.
Then recognition of public comment. We have nobody on the line and nobody has signed up to speak.
Okay. So next on the agenda is old business. Organized garbage and recycling collection initiative update. Maria?
Yep. So just some background. So we haven't met since June 11th, or excuse me, June 13th. And so at the next study session, the City Council did establish a citizens committee. We had solicited names earlier this year from citizens who wanted to be on that committee. It is, you know, it's not a standing committee, but we'll probably meet between 4 and 5 times. So we did have originally 19 people had signed up. We asked them for like a few paragraphs of interest of why they wanted to be considered. And so 11 people submitted that. And so we've had 11 on the committee. So that group met for the first time on July 14th. I think we have a nice cross section in terms of both where people live in the community, as well as how long they've lived here, and just their perspectives. You know, not everybody is 100% gung-ho that this is the best idea. And so I think we'll have some good debate on that.
Okay.
And we did we did have the RFPs go out. We got proposals back on July 16th. And we received 2, one from Waste Management, one from Republic Services. And those have been shared with the Citizens Committee along with the summary of the cost proposals. So we're trying to schedule that next meeting with them probably for the last week in August right now is what it's looking like. And so we'll begin that discussion proposal and then talk about too, I've laid out a schedule for how we're going to engage the community again, once we have a better idea now of costs, of levels of service, that sort of thing. So that'll happen in the fall. And then we'll take that back to council at some point for a formal vote. So I think we've made good progress overall.
Has
So that's
the
gonna
community.
go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. I know you put together sort of a list or a group of people, volunteers for that. I'm just kind of curious, how's that worked out? I know it's a little bit different than some of the other times that you guys have done public comment or input on things, since this is sort of a big deal. Are they staying engaged? Are you feeling like that's been working?
It has. So we've spent, I've spent some time individually with some of them. And then our first meeting was really background to kind of get everybody up to the same place in terms of, you know, what we've done to date, what our goals are, and then kind of the process that has been undertaken so far. So I shared with them those survey results, a lot of the background material that's been created. And so I feel like we're on a good place in terms of them having good background in order to now debate the merits of the proposals.
Thanks.
Okay.
And when is the next step? It's going to be this fall?
Yeah, you know, of course, we've lost some time here due to the virus, but we're anticipating probably another probably 3 to 4 meetings with the Citizens Committee, at which time we'd probably be ready to roll that out to the public, get input on kind of these proposals. Maybe it's only one vendor, maybe it's both, but share those results with the community, get their input again now that we have firm prices. And then we take all of that back with the recommendation from the Citizens Committee back to City Council. And that's probably going to be late fall, you know, time frame, probably November, December. And the intent would be is that if we move forward, it would roll out probably in June or July of next year. Give them a good, you know, 5 to 6 months to get their plan together of how we would do this. Because that transition is going to be difficult.
That's a long time.
Yeah. But we don't want to do it in the winter, you know, with the snow or anything. And we want to give people plenty of time to, if they have an existing contract, you know, end that with their current service provider, or just, you know, again, the communication. You have to communicate with people multiple times in order to get them started used to this process.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Tiffany? Greg? All right. Well, I mean, I think that sounds obviously reasonable.
Okay.
And thank you for the information.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
We'll probably, if not at the next meeting, probably the one after that, is share the results with the Etac as well. So we'll have more of a, more than just an update, but probably go over the merits of the proposals with Etac as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would like to share, though, is that I want to see things start moving.
Okay.
Like, I want to make sure that Greg, Christopher, Tiffany, myself, Neil, like let's make some opinions stated and get things going.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want. All right, so moving on.
So I know we had talked in June, we didn't meet in July, but about the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. And so I don't think the group took a formal vote on this, but I think we're at that point. We just wanted to, this was the memo that Guy had prepared for May. And so bring this back, and if there's a recommendation from Etac back to City Council. We did talk about the model traffic code with Council about a couple weeks ago now. And so this was one of the things that we talked about, is moving forward to implement this, but we're looking for more of a formal recommendation from Etac that you want to pursue this, but I think Council is definitely interested as well.
All right.
We did at the June meeting. I'm just reading through it in the minutes. We did have a motion to encourage City Council to investigate lowering the speeds. We could be more direct about it, maybe.
Yeah, I think is it truly a recommendation to implement?
Okay.
Yeah, one of my questions when I was looking at this memo in the recommendations section, the second paragraph, it says if Etac decides to move forward adopting municipal code, and the rest of the paragraph. I was just curious, within the context of this memo, do we have the authority to do that, or should it maybe be reworded slightly since we're requesting council to move forward with this change? Or if we have the authority to do that, that's great. We should talk about some other things too, but I don't think that we do. So I wasn't sure within the context of that memo if maybe we need to change that.
The language?
Yeah, would it be if council decides to move forward rather than Etac? And maybe this memo would be, I guess, our recommendation to council as well, sort of like from Etac through Public Works as this is written, because I think for the most part I'm pretty comfortable with how it sits, but just wasn't sure in that section specifically.
I was under the impression that we were gonna move forward with the recommendation. No, maybe not.
Yeah, we did talk about, looking at the implementation section here. We did talk about all of these things in the previous meeting about, how it would be implemented and what the steps are. So, this is really, I think, a reflection of sort of our discussion.
Okay.
But this is our time to talk about it and debate and make sure that, Guy captured what we talked about and what we think we should recommend. And Councilman Sierra, maybe I, refer to you on this one, how between the wording and how it would be good for council to receive this communication.
Yeah, from my point of view, it would be good to hear from Etac just stating that they recommend the posted limits. Well, obviously it's going to be this one and then obviously the next agenda item, but I don't have an issue with the way that it's worded in there. If Etac decides to move, well, I guess if Etac recommends moving forward, with the 25-mile-per-hour change, something along those lines. But I think that would provide at least council direction that the Transportation Advisory Committee does agree with the change.
I'm thinking about the wording there. What if it says, what if we said Etac recommends council to move forward, adopting? So then it's just not this if statement, but if it just says Etac recommends council to move forward, would that maybe fix that?
I think that, I like that.
Okay. I don't know who's taking notes on this one. I guess I can work on a copy and send it out for review for everybody. Would that be all right?
I'm taking notes, Chris, so I think I captured that. So yeah.
Okay.
And again, it would be in the context of the overall model traffic code. So this would become part of that. So that action by City Council.
And it would model a lot of the neighboring cities too. So it just makes a lot of sense.
So I just wanted to clarify based on our last meeting. I did feel there was a vote from this board to move to the next step, which was asking Dugan to create the language in the code, and so that has been done. So right now there's the language. It's actually already part of the changes to the MTC that the council will be reviewing, or I don't know where they're at with that. So it has been I do believe you guys did not officially endorse final endorsement, but you endorsed, my understanding was you endorsed it being proposed as part of the language change for the model traffic code. So that has been done. Dugan has put it as part of the material for council to review.
Okay. So are you saying that there needs to be another step, or that's already been done? Okay.
That's up to you guys, because it was more of the endorsement of next step. It's up to you guys to decide whether you need to make a more official endorsement
Okay.
to it, because the endorsement was more phrased. My understanding was to just have Dugan added to his list of things change in the code.
Okay.
So so it's up to you whether you feel that a stronger endorsement is needed.
Seems good. I mean, it's a little extra.
Yeah.
Maybe it's, slightly redundant, but it does seem like a good idea to recommend to implement the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit as outlined in the memo.
I agree with Greg, and I know that Neil does as well, even though that he's not present. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a good, this together with the updated code is a great package, and then that makes it pretty straightforward for council to just look at it and make a decision pretty easily on that. It's pretty well supported throughout the community as well. We've heard this several times over the years. So, I think this stuff combined, I think we just need to get it to council. Let's get them looking at it.
Correct. I agree. Okay.
So
you want to make a motion to recommend that to City Council?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
And anybody else second?
motion to recommend to implement 25-mile-per-hour speed limit as suggested by the memo.
Okay.
Does that sound good, Patrick?
Sounds yes, it does.
Okay.
So I had Patrick and then Tiffany. Did you second?
I did.
Okay. So we'll do any further discussion? We'll do a roll call then. Member Dietrich?
Aye.
Member O'Connell?
Aye.
Member Knadsen?
Aye.
And Member Lewis?
Aye.
Okay, 4 ayes. That passes.
Good job, everybody. Thanks for your help and work on this. We'll see what council does now.
We are the best advisory committee there is. Okay.
All right.
Next
And
up,
then, yep.
Guy, do you want to speak on the speed study for Dartmouth placemaking?
Yeah, so we did have data pulled as part of the accounts, which also include the speed data pulled in January, right before the applying for the Dartmouth Traffic Common Corridor, but they were done at Franklin and also during a normal school era, and that's about a quarter mile away from Dartmouth Circle improvements. So
Okay.
between the fact that the project, like it says in the memo, the relative size of the relative small size improvement distance from the counts, and the change in traffic patterns due to the pandemic right now, I don't think there would be any engineering validity to a speed study I conducted right now. I could not verify. I mean, whatever results I got, whether it showed quicker or faster, I would have to assume that it's not valid because of all these factors. It was already intended to have a before and after analysis for our larger traffic calming projects. But for this smaller thing, I don't think there's much validity to any results just because of all the different factors.
Okay.
I wonder just sort of for general background on the subject, do you have a sense of how many traffic studies Inglewood does every year, and then what the cost of each study is?
That's a good question.
Well, we don't have a set amount. The cost is very low, honestly, right now, because all I do is call the counts, and the company I get the counts from actually processes the data. So, like this was this. So, I mean, there's their speed. There's the 85th percentile in these counts. They actually were pulled for counts, not for speed study. But when I negotiated the current contract we're under, I think I paid an extra $25 per location to get for them to basically process the speed amount. I upgraded from the my original request for quotes. It's just like
Guy, what's something that concerns you though? When you do these studies, what are you looking at?
Well, I just did it for I did the study for the counts, but I mean, there is a 85th and 90th in these counts, and so one thing you can tell from this study, it does indicate that, from my perspective, that common on the west side was needed, although it might because people going west are going faster than people going east. So once I think they hit, kind of clear that area where there's the rapid flashing beacon and they get close to the university, it looks like they tend to speed up more, and they do tend to, which is a good thing. I mean, they tend to slow down as it gets denser going. I think maybe I said it wrong. I think it's I think I said what I mean. People leaving, getting closer to the university seem to go faster. Approaching the university. I'm sorry, I think I said that wrong. And people approaching like the denser area and like the places where there's school crossing appear to slow down. So it does indicate that a traffic common further to the east, closer to the university, would be beneficial. But like I said, I mean, just the effect of the of this, I just don't think the data would be valid. Honestly, if we saw a significant reduction in speed, or a significant increase, since we're all pretty aware and have observed that some people seem to think they should speed up during COVID-19, it still would not invalidate or validate improvement. So there's not too much purpose to it at this point. Because like I said, if anything, I'm a little afraid if you're for it, it will actually, we could get higher numbers just because of COVID-19, or we could get lower numbers, whether it could be, which would be good if we accounted for COVID-19, or it could have just been a fluke of this situation. And since it's so far, the current count we have are so far away, if again any real difference is probably unlikely.
Yes, you can see here, this is kind of the data we get. So then Guy basically has to take this and interpret it. So you can see here this bold number is showing that the largest amount of traffic is occurring between 7 and 8, and then again at 5 o'clock. And we'll definitely take the data again closer to Dartmouth Place. We just want to make sure you understand it's not totally apples to apples is all we're saying.
Yeah, and like you said, I think it's a good point that even before we'll probably want to do some additional data counts, including more spread out through all the way from Broadway University, so we can do it a before and afterwards. when we put in the improvement.
Yeah.
Make the improvement.
Well, Greg, Tiffany, and Chris, I'm not seeing any dramatic differences in the data.
Well,
No,
I had there was somebody who was claiming that people travel 40, 50 miles an hour on Dartmouth constantly, and
Well,
constantly felt like a
maybe.
bit of an exaggeration to me. But and
Okay.
looking, so that's what got me thinking about this was,
Yeah.
what's the current data, and is it before or after that crosswalk was installed and the placemaking was installed?
It might have been.
Looking at this, it seems like there's really just 1 or 2 people per hour traveling at that speed of 40 miles an hour or above. It's really not that common. So I wouldn't call it constantly or even regularly. I would call it infrequently at best or at most.
Okay.
But it did make me wonder about what kind of insight we might be able to get about the impact of the different measures that we're doing, or the impact of just what's going on in the world, and what we might be appropriate engineering measures based on what's going on in the world. And so I guess I still want to go back to those 2 questions that I had about how many we do in an average year, and how much they cost. So if you said that they cost $50 total, then I would say I feels justified to me on a return on investment there to get some more traffic studies, so we can have more insight about what's going on and where there's problems. If you say you're already doing a couple thousand of these per year, then I'll say, okay, that's great. I would just love to see the data.
Yeah.
What
And
is the? Sorry, go ahead.
Excuse me, go
Maria?
ahead. Nope, go ahead. Sorry, Patrick.
No, I was just facilitate. Go ahead, please.
So yeah, I think that's one thing that Guy and I have talked about, Greg, is trying to do the counts consistently throughout the city. So we have very random counts, here and there, like this one we just happen to have on Dartmouth at Franklin, probably because somebody might have requested it. And what we're trying to do instead is every year take a certain number of counts so that we can start to track. This is what CDOT does. They take them at the same place every couple of years so they can see those trends occurring. So, and then it's, normalized because it's not 2 blocks here, 2 blocks away, but it's at the same location over and over again. So you can see that change in pattern over the years. So that's what we'd like to do as well. And Guy's just getting started on that. But he is going to start to create that database of counts. So how many would you say, Guy, we've done maybe in the past year or so since you've come?
We've only done about a dozen of these since I've been here. But this one was I ordered 3 of them on Dartmouth within the project for the study, and it's even available online. I mean, there's a whole and I'm trying to also not overuse counts, because there's a whole CDOT counts our roads as well, so I don't recount those. If I need a speed study, I either then I would need to run a count.
Wait, so you do it completely separate, independent?
Well, I'm trying to cover the counts that we aren't getting from other sources, because CDOT CDOT that provides count CDOT and a different agency actually counts, of course, all their roads, but provides some counts on our roads. We just actually had an agency called Dr. Cog, which I don't know who of you are familiar with, basically has just done right before COVID, which is going to be useful for some of our other things, counted all the intersections on Broadway and Hampden, like all the turn-in movements and stuff, which will be helpful for a couple projects and a couple of other agencies as part of a timing study. So, so like Maria was said, she tasked. We've created a program to probably over like a 3-year period. We're creating a program to kind of get and to continuously rotate to get a better, to have more reliable counts. But there are a lot of counts already out there. We're trying, so my goal is to fill in the gaps. We don't have enough information.
Sounds good. All right.
So I think to your question, Greg, we haven't done very many, but our intent is to do more. And we can certainly, you know, at a cost of $250, look at this area.
Yeah, it's actually less than, we got a really good deal right now. It's actually less than $200 right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I'm
great.
sorry, Guy.
Yeah. Normally it would be probably a little over. We got a low bid. But I think that is what we have right now. This year we're paying a real good price.
All right. Tiffany, have you noticed anyone in your area talking about traffic issues or any sort of, I don't know, stuff like this, or no?
I mean, I see occasional posts on Nextdoor of people
Yeah, same here.
talking about speeding. I
Okay.
myself live just up the street from Dartmouth.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't heard any real specific complaints, that's for sure.
Yeah, same here. I was just wondering. But okay. Does anybody else have anything to? Thanks, Guy, for the information. This has been, I think it's been helpful.
So
Yeah,
as related to this, is we are starting to get feedback on the Dartmouth project, and so
Okay.
that kind of input is being received from other citizens, both via the survey, but I've also been getting calls and handles and a couple of emails about,
Oh,
and of course, obviously, speed it's a big issue that comes up during those conversations.
okay. So is there more that we need to discuss about it, or should we move
Yeah,
forward?
I'd just like to say one thing real quick.
Yeah,
You know,
please.
it's really encouraging for me to hear that you guys are looking at doing more studies and more consistency with the studies. When I saw this memo, the first thing I thought was, why are we even going to do it in the middle of the year? We should do it January next year, so that shows the same time period in the year for a good, good comparison. And so, you know, for some of these higher traffic areas or the areas that need the studies, you know, knowing that the price is not ridiculous, you know, I'm glad to hear it's not thousands of dollars or something. But for some of the important areas in town, I encourage you guys to do so, maybe even some seasonal stuff. I don't want to tell you to drive the costs up really high, but you know, summer or school year and winter, there are definitely some seasonal differences around here. And if you can start compiling some of that year over year stuff, I think that's going to be great down the road to see really what the impacts were from some of these projects that you're doing right now. So thanks for keeping an eye on that stuff. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. I agree.
There is a process too. So even if you collect them at a different time of the year, it's called AADT. What's the first A, Guy? Basically, it's a method to normalize it for the time of the year. So there's a calculation you can do. So even if you happen to take it in November, and you're looking at for a summer count, there's a way to normalize that.
Based on weather or change of environment, stuff like that. Okay. Thanks.
And the biggest factor is school in anything when it comes to that. So yeah, we're like doing it right now would not be even if there was no pandemic, because we want to wait until the school season will start again. And that's assuming that there was no pandemic. We still want to wait until school opened up.
Okay. All right. If there's nothing else, I motion that we move on to Idaho Stop research.
Yeah, so again, we're bringing this back. I know we had talked about it and then kind of put the conversation on hold. There was no formal movement by Etac. Staff continues to not recommend moving forward with this. And Guy is available to answer any questions. I see Sergeant McKay is on the line as well. So for the traffic signals, you know, as that we've talked about, there's those lead lag turn arrows that we think, you know, would lead to some confusion by bicyclists. So we're not recommending that. There may be some inconclusive results for the stop signs. And it would be convenient for cyclists. And, but at this time, we're not recommending it, but you can certainly still move forward with it. And there was interest by the city council in pursuing this. As you may recall, there's a couple other communities, including the city of Thornton, who has adopted this, and I believe Breckenridge and a couple other mountain communities. So, you know, I think the results we're hearing from them seems to be working. Unless, Guy, you've heard something else, please chime in. But that would be our take at this point. But again, the commission is totally, you know, it's up to you to either make a recommendation to council one way or the other to endorse this, whatever you want to do. And we're here to answer questions.
Well, personally, I can see benefits and ambiguity around it. I don't know. I feel like the police officers have already said that they're not going to really enforce a lot of these issues. And people, let's be honest, if you want to roll through a red light or a red stop sign, not a red light, you're going to do it. It's just the fact of the matter. So, I'm sorry. That's just, and Greg, I know you were promoting it a lot, and I respect your opinion. So, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm just not sure that it's the highest priority right now without a clear path forward, is my perspective.
Okay.
So I guess I wonder, was there like a specific request that somebody had? I would want to give them time to speak if there was a specific request to put this back on the agenda.
Great, I can jump in here. So this
Yeah.
is part of the traffic code that's coming up back to council. And right now it looks like it's going to be coming back to us on the 8th of September. So obviously I'm a big proponent of moving forward with the safety stop. When we talked about it last on August 3rd, sounded like there were 2 other people that were ready to move forward with this. There was, obviously there's 4 other members that we're not sure where it is. So, you know, from my experience, just as a cyclist, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I could somewhat agree with Member Lewis in terms of just, you know, if you're going to roll through a stop sign, you're going to do it. But I think also it's just, we want to make it more bike friendly. Obviously, as a cyclist, my purpose is to try to get away from vehicles. So, you know, the red light and using that as a yield moving forward, I think would be a big help. There's going to be times I'm not going to take advantage of it. Like, you know, since I do cycle on Broadway and Dartmouth, I'm not going to treat that as a yield during rush hour. There's just no way I'm going to be able to make it across. But I think at certain parts of the day, especially early morning, it makes sense for me to get away from vehicles, and I see that as a safety priority when I'm in that type of situation. So I think overall, I think it does make sense for the city to move forward. But obviously, we would want to hear the recommendation of Etac as well before moving forward with the traffic code on September 8th.
So in some of our previous discussions, you know, we've gone over this several times over the last couple of years and had some presentations about it, and we've talked about a lot of the benefits of it, some of the drawbacks. I think one of the things that's important in this memo right here is separating stop signs and traffic signals. I think that's where some of the discrepancies came from some of the opinions on the committee here. You know, my opinion is that I'm in favor of this. I think we need to think about how it's implemented, though. What is the intent? What exactly are we trying to solve? And I think of that because of some of the other stuff we're talking about tonight, like our 25-mile-per-hour recommendation for the neighborhood streets. Some of the issues people had with the model code revolved around it being a little bit more standardized. Maybe it doesn't make sense for certain communities. You know, Inglewood in particular, we have some major thoroughfares that have, you know, vehicles traveling at high speeds. And so there were some concerns around those types of intersections being incorporated into the general blanket statements of the, you know, standard language that's available that we've been looking at. So I'd like to move forward with something here. I think maybe there's something we can talk about relating the 25-mile-per-hour zones or something with speed limits might be incorporated into this, thinking about Santa Fe and some of the other thoroughfares versus, a stoplight on Logan or something is quite a different situation. So I want to make sure we consider that and kind of keep the objectives and the, safety to Nathaniel's point, being able to get out of situations where you need to keep moving or it doesn't make sense for bikelists to stop. There's a lot of different safety situations there too. So I'd love for the community to have a little discussion about that. Just kind of hear what you guys think as well.
So Chris, just to clarify, you're kind of saying like, maybe not a one size fits all, but like certain corridors, this would be applicable to, or residential streets, but not like arterial streets, something like that?
No, I'm just bringing up that I know there were the standard language that's available for us to adopt is somewhat general, and I know people had some issues with certain parts of it, and that's why this memo was sort of broken into two parts with the stop signs and the traffic signals. And so we have this memo here to discuss, and do we want to make any changes? Or I don't see the proposed language attached on this memo either. So I think that would be an important thing to have on there if we're going to recommend something like this. So that just another thing I think we should discuss here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I personally think stop signs is way different than traffic signals, but that's just my opinion. I'm not an expert. And I know Guy did a study, and Guy's study was more lenient towards the rolling stop.
You mean like Guy's review and recommendations? Because
Yes.
I think the study is a slightly different thing. Yeah. Okay.
And what, Greg, remember you had an official come and also do another study, or at least you referenced it.
Yeah. So I think in one of the previous meeting agenda packets, we had some slides from Bicycle Colorado with links, and that mentioned these are papers that have been published in academic journals. So they've been reviewed by a lot of people whose academic reputations are on the line for making those claims. And they are also being used by Bicycle Colorado in support of their policy position. Yeah.
What about meeting in the middle ground and like not going 100%? Because personally, I disagree in the fact that people should be crossing Santa Fe at Dartmouth at a red light if it's a safety stop. Like, I mean, that's a long commute. It is. So
Yeah. I mean, I think part of what the Colorado's, I think it's Senate Bill 144, part of what that did was to try to standardize the language, because in the different mountain communities, the language was slightly different. And so the goal was to create one standard across the whole state so that you don't have a patchwork. I think, we're following a similar strategy with going to 25 miles an hour. There's one section of our border with unincorporated or Arapaho or something like that is still 30 miles an hour, but generally speaking, all of the borders are 25. So, we're just being more consistent with what people in the Denver metro area expect as the speed limit.
that makes sense.
And so I think that if we were to do something different, if we had our own version of what this looked like, that would be counter to the spirit of what the Colorado legislative body passed, and it feels a bit risky to me.
Yep.
I have a question for the city. Are we going to be installing any signage or any sort of orientation things for vehicles and cyclists and pedestrians so that they know what's going on here if we did implement this?
Guy or Maria, I don't know if anyone's available to. Chris?
Maria.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't know of any, and like I said, and also we said, as the city doesn't support it, it'd be kind of hard to design towards something that we have, that we have questions about. I mean, so that would become an issue as well. As there is no design guidelines, the design guidelines available does not really allow for this. So it's really more of a matter of code, not design.
Okay.
There's nothing in my design guidelines like that says a stop sign. Matter of fact, the guidelines I have, a stop sign's always a stop sign for everybody. So it's kind of hard for me to design around the guidelines. It contradict most guidelines for this, so I can't really design around it. It would just be a matter of code change.
But in that regard, then we should err on the side of caution, right?
That is one of the issues is why we don't support it. Is obviously the police department talked about a lot of difficulty with enforcement, but besides, like, even with the stop sign issue versus the signal, there's really no way for me to follow guidelines and design towards this. It would just have to be a change in the code.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of ambiguity, and I mean, I support the emphasis and the thought, the theory behind it, but I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of wonky. I don't know.
I just feel like no one's actually getting tickets for rolling stop signs when there's nobody around. So it seems like a lot of
Much
headache
ado about
to
nothing.
fix. Yeah, a little bit.
Well, I know, like Greg, I mean, I get the emphasis and the whole impetus behind it. I just don't know if it's a fight we need to really fight. I don't know.
I have a question on this, and this, I guess we don't have, do we have a representative from the police department on today? McKay, yes, okay. I'm curious, is there just like, where do you draw the line on this? Do people on scooters that are less than 50 cc's fall under the bicycle guidelines? And so would there be scooters that would be able to do this as well? Like anything that would be powered?
No, motor scooters fall under motor vehicle guidelines with the restrictions of limitations on 30 miles an hour and lower to travel. And they would have to comply with all motor vehicle regulations. Bicyclists, I don't know very many, probably very few instances that we would enforce a rolling stop on a bicyclist unless there was a crash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and just for a little more clarification, I know we've got some sort of motorized and electric bicycle type things out there. They're becoming more popular. And, just does that 30-mile-an-hour limit apply to like electric or motorized bicycles as well?
Yeah, it would, under the state statute and municipal traffic code, yes, it would.
So guys, do you guys mind if I jump in? In terms of the wording that we have in front of us for the traffic code, electric scooters and e-bikes are also included as part of this safety stop ordinance as well. So I know you guys don't have the wording in front of you, but I have the wording here, but it is straight from the state regulation that was passed or that the state adopted back in 18. That is part of the wording. So there's 4 parts to it. I'm not sure if you guys want me to read it to you, but I can if you like.
Does that include the 50 cc and under?
It doesn't state it by engine size. It just says a person riding a bicycle, electric assisted bicycle, or electric scooter and approaching an intersection of a roadway with a stop sign. And then it says that for each 3 parts. So that one's specifically around stop signs. The next section is about a reasonable speed. The next one is a person riding a bicycle through a stoplight, through a red traffic control light. But it
No,
doesn't
that's very
say
But it's 50 cc's and under is what the,
Well, doesn't it get
Bicycle.
tricky when it gets to the CCs and I don't know. Sergeant McGrath, doesn't it get tricky? How do you enforce it?
well, what it where that
Okay, sorry, I'm sorry.
requires is the regulation to have a driver's license.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So and then they operate that, so you don't have to have an actual driver's
So it's
license.
yeah, that makes it standard. Never mind. Okay. Chris Groth, what do you think? Have you noticed any, like when you're out working, what do you think about this whole thing?
I don't know. I see good and bad. I definitely don't want to see people roll through stop signs or signals and
Yeah.
get creamed, but there is a plus and a negative to both sides. I see that.
Okay.
But my overall, I'd probably have to vote against.
Okay.
Othaniel, I have a question about process here. You know, what if we send this forward to council, what is that going to look like on your end? I assume something like this will probably have a bit of discussion, but you know, what might this look like as it goes through on your end?
Yeah, so what would happen is obviously you're providing a recommendation or not providing a recommendation. So it's just another piece of information that we would take into account when we're making a decision. I personally am, obviously, you know, my stance on it. Obviously today, the police department and their leadership are not moving forward in terms of enforcing this, but that obviously can change at any point with any type of change. And I just think in terms of the safety of cyclists, pedestrians overall, I think it just makes sense. And I think part of the issue is this uniformity, is that we're treating cyclists, vehicles, and pedestrians the same. And I just don't agree with that because there is different ramifications when you know, to me, there's different ramifications when there is an accident. So, but yeah, I think just in terms, it's just going to be another recommendation, which I would, or excuse me, that's just another piece of information. Obviously, I would provide that information to council depending on which way you guys decide to move forward with this. I would provide that to them, so along with the staff.
Okay.
Well, I have a phone that made me think about pedestrians and what the rules are for them. If a pedestrian goes to an intersection that has a stop sign, and as they're walking at a walking speed, they look both ways, they see there's nobody there, they just keep walking, that's okay, right?
Yeah. Pedestrians have the right of way. Yes, pedestrians have the right of way. The issue, and I respect what Othaniel said, the other consideration, which he said was the insurance claims and the accidents, is we've had actually intentional bicyclists go into motor vehicles to claim injuries. And I think we would see that increasing, and also the uniformity, because we don't have the surrounding jurisdictions that have the same municipal ordinances that we have. So that's a consideration too.
Yeah. And then what about if there's a red light and like a red hand for a pedestrian at a crosswalk, but it's 3 a.m. and there's no cars on the road in any direction? If they cross at that red light, then would that be okay? Or would that be, like, if that was observed, would that be a ticketable offense, or could they get in trouble for that?
No, I think the pedestrian always has a right of way, because they could be entering that intersection on a solid white hand, and then all of a sudden they cross it to a point where it's red. So where would we know where that is? So I would.
What if they enter on a red hand?
If they entered it on a red, it would be really hard to recognize that because we don't have the camera system available, and how would we know that? So the police officers probably would not know that they entered on a solid red.
Yeah.
But I think we're getting into gray. Like, are they really going to enforce that kind of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I just wonder, you know, to the point about a stop sign is a stop sign for everybody. But it, you know, was a comment, Guy, that you made earlier. But I think, you know, my thought in based on what Athonia was saying, and it just got me thinking about this. Like, is it true that that's actually the case, or is it that, you know, pedestrians are different than cars, their natures are different, and bikes and scooters are also different, the nature of the different modes of transit, whether you're walking or biking or in a car or in a giant truck, they're all different, and so they have different rules for some of these different things. You know, like semis can't drive on Dartmouth if they're fully loaded and too heavy, right? So we have different rules for even different kinds of cars and trucks. So I guess that I just wonder about whether it's appropriate, you know, what's the appropriate rule for different modes of transit.
I think that's a great question, Greg, because we also have weight restrictions on local roadways. So if anything's over 10,000 pounds, then they can't be on they have to be on a collector street or on designated areas. And so there is different regulations for different modes of transportation.
I like that we're talking about this stuff. This makes me really happy. I want to make sure we stay focused on the bicycle stuff and on the memo, but we should definitely bring this up in the future as well. I think this could be some good debate for this committee.
Yeah. So back to the bicycle Idaho stop research. So I think we have a little bit of agreement, but also disagreement. And I don't know, should we pause it and continue this conversation? I'd like some more opinions on what we should do, because it seems like this is personally, I get both sides. I don't know. So
we can always take a motion or do something today, and depending on what the results are, there's no things that are blocking us from bringing this up in the next meeting or any other meetings as well. So I know there is a bit of timeliness that applies to this one. So I think it might not be a bad idea to just see what the committee thinks.
Okay.
And anyone else, feel free to chime in on that.
Yeah.
As you heard, council is considering this on September 8th. That would be an ordinance, so it would be 2 readings. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll throw this out. We could potentially, because our next meeting of Etac is on September 10th.
Mm-hmm.
So we could potentially, bring this back with the actual wording to you at the 10th meeting, and then you could vote, and then maybe we move this item to the 21st for city council consideration, which would give Etac another meeting to discuss and would push the decision to council out 2 weeks.
Wait, Maria, could you describe what exactly is going to happen on the 8th?
So the model traffic code would be considered by city council as an ordinance to adopt that as part of the municipal code, and that takes 2 readings. So the first one would be on September 8th, and likely the second one would probably be that first meeting in October.
Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, would you be okay with us considering postponing it to September 21st?
Yeah, I don't think that we have it on the agenda as of now, but I think the earliest date that we were going to have it back was going to be the 8th of September. So
Okay.
I think you're right. We would just delay it until the 21st until we get, a recommendation in either direction from Etac.
Okay.
I'm just kind of curious to see where the committee sits on this. I mean, we could have another meeting next week or the following week. We don't have to wait a month necessarily either.
Yeah, and
I'm curious where the comfort level is for everybody.
Neil had mentioned last meeting, which I didn't attend, but I strongly vote that we meet on our own. Like, it's like this is on record, but like the old mob, the mob used to meet back room. Let's go like hang out in the park and chat because I think we have a lot of good opinions and I value your opinions. And I think that sometimes maybe what's wrong with chatting off the record, like nothing that we're doing is, I don't know, nefarious.
There are rules about open records in Colorado. Yeah. So that was why I was making a grimacing face. I would love to talk to all of you more often. And I think that there are ways that we can do that that meet the goal, the goal and the letter of the Colorado open meeting rules, but we just have to be sure that we are following them.
Yeah, so 3 or more of you who get together, that's considered a public meeting. So we can certainly have that and post it. As long as we post it and make that available to the public, you can meet wherever and whenever you like, pretty much.
All right. Yeah. My bad. That's, yeah. Whoops. It's just, a lot of times it's good to have some chat where it's not just completely professional and officiated. This is, we're just chatting. But anyway. Okay.
Yeah, so I don't know, Greg or Tiffany, if you guys, have, what do you guys feel about next steps? We got a couple other members absent today, but we do have a quorum and we've got people who have listened to the presentations on this here.
I've never quite been sold on the safety stop. So I don't know. I haven't not heard an argument that really made me feel like it was worth the political capital. So that's kind of where I am at.
Okay.
I'm in favor of it. I do think that it makes sense. I hope that the state of Colorado will just make it, fact for all of Colorado. I think that would be a much simpler thing that would get rid of the ambiguity about it. Having read through all of the studies and, even with their flaws, I think that they show that it's safer or at least not worse. And that feels like a good thing to me. So I don't know why we would be opposed to something that's safer or not worse. But somehow we have a memo in front of us that is, with no citations of studies that are contrary to those studies. But I agree with Tiffany, like there's this question of what's of something worth trying to pursue and put your effort into. And I don't feel right now like this is worth putting more effort into.
Okay. And Chris? Diedrich?
Yep. I would be okay tabling this for our next meeting. That'd be all right. Or sometime in the future as well. I definitely see the benefits and the drawbacks, and I want to make sure everybody has enough information to feel comfortable, and it's also something that we can always come back to. So.
Okay. So we can agree that this is for right now to table for a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I motion that we move on to the next topic. Maria, do you have the document up?
I think the next one on the agenda is the Etac bylaws.
Okay.
So if you recall at the June meeting, the direction was people were going to look at the bylaws and send any changes back. I don't believe we received any. So we can do that process again, or if we want to talk tonight through the various sections, just kind of work down and make any changes. It's really at the pleasure of the committee.
Okay, well, I read through them and I don't have any changes, but Tiffany, Greg, and Chris, I guess it's up to you.
I didn't have any changes.
There were two things that are a concern to me still. There was, I guess, there's a difference between the term, it's either 3 years or 4 years, 4 years on the website and 3 years in these draft bylaws. And so are we saying that it would be 3 years is the term? That's what's still in the bylaws. I guess I was just curious if that was an intentional thing to keep that at 3 or if it's just that it stayed there.
I believe Lorraine did check with the city clerk, and this is accurate, the way that it's written in the bylaws. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then the other question that I had was just about quorum. It's in the regular meetings section saying that if quorum is 3, then 2 members must be in physical attendance and no less than 1 can participate via electronic telephonic means to constitute a quorum. And so it feels a little rough to me to be voting on something in a way that would not be allowed once the bylaws are passed.
Yeah. That's kind of.
And to be honest with you, I think this is pretty standard language in a lot of the boards and commissions. And I think through the city manager's executive order, he overrode that in order for the pandemic situation. So I believe council has very similar language or something, where they have to meet in person. And so he had to basically override that to allow them to participate like we're doing in Zoom meetings or Teams meetings.
I vote to let that. And you also see under regular meetings, it's 4 times per year.
Yeah, although we can have special meetings as often as we want, as long as we do the proper notice to the public.
Okay. Cool. Okay.
I didn't see a provision in here. This is going to sound funny, but I don't see a provision for chairperson term length in here.
Oh, well, Chris, that's news to you because I'm chairman for life.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
It's about to get dirty.
In article on page 14, article 2, section 2, that they're a 2-year term and they can't serve in the same capacity for more than 2 consecutive terms.
Okay.
You know what? I think I'm looking at the wrong link. I apologize. Clicked on the link in the agenda that's on the website and it took me to the Alliance for Commerce bylaws. So I was looking at the wrong one. Apologize.
Do you
That's
see
a
the
good
one
note.
that's on the Zoom chat?
Yes, but I keep trying to scroll it with my mouse and it just doesn't go anywhere.
No.
That is a good
That's
note
okay.
for the Alliance for Commerce one, though, to have a term there.
Yes. Okay. I retract my previous question.
Okay.
I also didn't have any further comments on it. Greg, those were the 2 things that I had in my mind as well. So thanks for bringing those up.
All right. Anybody else? Tiffany, Guy, Chris, Groth. Okay. I don't have
Motion
Excuse
to
me.
approve. Oh, Go ahead, Andrea.
Oh, I'm sorry. So Greg, you were
Sorry.
fine with just
Sorry.
keeping it like the quorum or this, the way that it's written, knowing that the city manager can override it in these times for the pandemic. You were fine with this language then, with that caveat?
I
Yes.
think so. Yeah. I mean, my personal preference, I have worked at home for the past 15 years, so I have a preference for that. I feel like it works really well, and I feel like it's been working really well for us for the past couple months. But you know, I understand that if this is the standard for the city, then I'm happy to see it like this, and happy to know that it can be overridden for extraordinary circumstances.
Me
I
as
think
well.
I think for a general comment to the city, and I'm sure they're considering this, but I wouldn't be surprised if they, or would recommend that they just make a sort of overarching, rather than just a city manager, you know, memo or order on this sort of thing that we're talking about here with the in-person participation. But I would love to see them just sort of adopt something across the board for this, so it's not an issue for these types of meetings. I know in the past it was an issue because we would typically have people over the phone and you couldn't see them and it was hard to verify the identity, but I think where we're at now is good.
Well,
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that this is kind of one of the outcomes of the pandemic, is that this becomes the new normal, where we can at least have this as an option going forward. And if that happened, we would just bring the bylaws back to you with that language for you to adopt in the future.
okay. I would personally like to see you guys in person.
Me too.
But, you know, it ain't happening. Okay.
I
So,
motion to approve the bylaws as written here.
I second.
So we'll take
Yes.
a roll call vote.
Okay.
Oh, Member Knudsen,
Aye.
Member O'Connell,
Aye.
Member Dietrich,
Aye.
and Member Lewis.
Aye. Greg, is K silent in your name, Nadison?
It's pronounced Addison, yeah.
Ah,
But I'm flexible. I'm okay.
okay. I always thought it was Nat. All right. Yeah. Okay. So that's it.
Yeah, sorry we took the Dartmouth out of order there, but yeah, now we're up to number 7, Director's Choice. So if you're
I don't have anything. I already expressed my opinion that in the future I would love it if we could meet, you know, off the record. That's my personal and professional opinion. I'd love to see you guys, like, I don't know, let's go do something.
How about a
Sorry,
bike
yeah.
ride?
Let's go for, yeah, that's how I feel, and I'm gonna bring it up next month too. So come on, let's do it. Greg, come on. Okay, chairperson's choice.
Yep,
Committee men.
that's you, Patrick.
Oh, well, I was directors. Okay. Committee members' choice. Okay.
I'll jump in then. I guess that it's been a bit of a tough 2-month period since our last meeting. I think
Yeah.
there was a a car crash on Bannock and Radcliffe, I think was the corner, where a truck ran over a bicyclist and killed them and then drove away. And as far as I know, they've not been identified. And there was a car that, as best I can understand it, was just out of control on 285 on Hamden and Bannock, and they ended up upside down in the middle of the road. And I believe that a person in that car also died. And then at Dartmouth and Franklin, there was a car, and as I understand it, the driver had some kind of a medical emergency, maybe a heart attack or something like that, and ended up driving into the living room or the front entryway of the house at the corner of Dartmouth and Franklin. So it just when we look at traffic studies or we're looking at different proposals, I think that it can be easy to forget about the real world impacts of the things that we're talking about. And those were just a couple things that I was aware of. I know that a lot more things happen than we necessarily hear about in the news, smaller issues, but just wanted to mention that that's on my mind, and something that I think should be on all of our minds as we think about what we're working on.
I agree. Yeah. Do you think it's is it congestion, or is it just life, or why are these things becoming so prominent?
I don't know. I was a little bit confused about, so I tried to look at the Bannock intersection, and as I drove down there, I noticed that Bannock is one way for a good section. And I wonder about why that is, and if that's appropriate, or if that's perhaps a contributing factor to confusion in that area. I think that that's maybe 2 or 3 blocks north of where that incident actually was. So I think I think that we're doing a lot of good things to, I know that the turn signals on 285 have been adjusted, and I think that was, based on some strong evidence about crashes there, that hopefully we've reduced the crashes happening there. I'm not sure what contributing factors there might have been for that car that was out of control on 285. Yeah, and then how do you know when somebody's going to have a heart attack or have a seizure or something like that, right? So I'm not sure what things could be done to try to help with that. I do think that to the extent that speed played a role in how bad that car running into the house was, to the extent that speed played a role in that, that having the mini roundabouts on Dartmouth could be helpful to get the speeds there a little bit lower, so that then the impact of the car into the houses is less. That could be beneficial.
Yep.
Yeah, I would be interested to know why Bannock is one direction on a residential street for a couple blocks. That seems really weird.
Yeah.
I know, that is weird.
My only guess was maybe large trucks turning or emergency vehicles turning, something like that.
Sergeant McKay, have you noticed anything out of the ordinary with that not intersection, but that area of Bannock?
Not necessarily out of the ordinary, but I would have to agree.
Wrong word, but
it's a one-way area, because I don't see the justification for it to be one way. You have residents on both sides, and you have apartments, so I don't understand. But I can't answer that. But there's no increase in speed in that area or aggressive driving on that one way.
Is there anything else that the police department has been concerned about that you want us to discuss in future meetings or anything?
No, not offhand.
Okay.
No, I wanted to.
Just curious. Guy, anything that you want to add that's concerning as far as the traffic studies and as far as this committee goes?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of stuff, I mean, to work on. I mean,
Okay.
everything from the multimodal stuff, where we're working on some stuff right now, to like the more studies more dealing with some larger vision. And even honestly, you know, so like just, I guess to kind of finish your response is my understanding, Bannock, it used to be that the way Broadway and Hamden was configured was different, and there wasn't a clear movement. So that it's from there. And we have already identified, I don't believe it should be, it's not even so much the one way, but it's the 2-lane one way that we will eventually want to deal with, either that, although I've pulled crash data, and despite the recent accident, it does not appear to be causing a lot of specific safety issues, which is a little surprising because it's not the primarily the fact there's 2 lanes in one direction would indicate that that would be a speed issue. The crashes aren't, so just on our like a mile-long list that we currently have, it hasn't been put on that, but we are planning to eventually look at doing something else with Bannock there. There's a couple different options, but I think, and not necessarily even the one way is the issue, but having the 2 lanes in the same direction is not really appropriate for our neighborhood, that neighborhood context.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Maria, Chris Groth, and then back to our council members. Othniel, I'm not sure. Are you? I don't see you. Othniel, sorry.
No, I'm here. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to come and pick up dinner.
No, I'm sorry. Okay.
I would just add one thing. If you're south, we're working right now south of Oxford and west of Broadway, what we refer to as Zone 2.
Okay.
And we're starting our concrete utility work, which involves installation of a lot of new pedestrian ramps.
Nice.
As well as our mill and overlay project is occurring down there. So, and then Chris is also marking crosswalks. So we're kind of hitting that area of town this year.
Okay.
And then next year we'll be up in Zone 3, which is kind of the northwest quadrant of town.
Great.
But yeah, so you'll see a lot of activity going down in that area over the next couple of months.
Okay.
I have a question for the city. I'm curious, in the past couple of years, there's been a little bit of budget set aside for some alley paving projects. And I'm curious if that's, I hadn't seen the budget, so maybe it didn't make it in the budget, but I'm curious what the outcome was from some of that, or if you're aware, and if there's a plan to continue with some of those pilot projects.
Yeah, there was money a couple of years ago, and we've foregone that in order to do what we did this past year. We just completed it actually in that same area south of Oxford and west of Broadway, where we actually went in with a contractor and fine graded the alley to create more of a V. So we, to get the drainage away from the homes, as well as to create positive drainage to each end of the alley. So that's worked really well. And then we applied a dust suppressant to the surface, sprayed that on, and the results, and then we trimmed back the trees as well on either side to create more of a open area for vehicles as they pass through. So it's been really well received by the community. And so we're moving up into Zone 1 this fall, which is the northeast portion of town. But so we have, what we need to do before we actually pave alleys, we've got to develop a policy for who's going to pay for that. So is it 100% on the residents? Is it partially the city? And then have to, if let's say we move forward with a policy where the city paid a portion of that, how do we prioritize those? And then that would have to go through the budget process. So we're going to work on that over the winter time, because I think there is still a desire while I think citizens have appreciated what we've done, there is still a desire to at least look at paving and how we can do that.
Thanks for the update.
Okay. I have one more question also for the city. Is there any more impetus to get the bike share program?
I'm sorry, Patrick, you broke up. Bike share, did you say?
Yeah, the bike share.
Okay.
I know the scooter kind of fell to the wayside, but I guess I should have brought that up before, but I would like to revisit the bike share.
Okay. Yeah, you know, those companies we saw right at the beginning, a lot of those e-scooters and those bikes, or not e-scooters, but the e-bikes and the scooters kind of scattered around town, and that seems to have dropped off a bit. But we can certainly bring that back for discussion again, is the bike share program and where that might be, makes sense. We've been talking about, you know, how do we connect kind of the Civic Center area and the RTV platform all the way over to the hospital. That's actually about a mile.
Yeah, the last mile program is a big thing, you know, that's
really a
directly
great connection that people could probably bike if they had the means to do that.
Okay. Okay.
My sense is that Englewood doesn't have like an official position on it. It's just whatever is in our current version of like model traffic code is what governs what can or can't be done.
Okay.
And that the companies who provide those have drawn boundaries of where you're allowed to use them that are, you know, outside of Englewood, north of Englewood mostly. So we're just, I don't know, like I think that they're not viable in Englewood on their own, given the nature of our traffic and the density of the city, or not viable at this point anyway.
That makes sense.
Or none of the companies are willing to take that risk. But it's possible that like maybe the hospitals would want to subsidize a program or try to court a program to focus on that hospital to RTD connection. And maybe they could try to help to make that happen, providing space for scooters to be left or something like that.
Okay. Well, even not scooters, because
or bikes or
brought
whatever.
This up before, like I think scooters might be kind of dangerous, but I think a bike share program might be more. I don't know. What do you think, Greg? Like the last mile, you know, people get into, as opposed to, I mean, let's be honest, we do have you know, there's a homeless population, and what if people were able to get to work and get to where they need to go? There might be a better usage of these. Oh, that's just my personal opinion. So,
Patrick, are you talking about like the B-cycle programs?
Guys, do you guys mind if we put this on the agenda for next time? Because we're kind of running into an issue of open records here.
Okay, I agree.
Sorry, Othonia, because it wasn't on the agenda, it would be
because
an
it's not on
open
the
records
agenda,
issue?
and we're basically basically having a discussion on it. So if it's not on the agenda, then we can't really go into detail about it.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, we can.
It's just this is something that's very strong to my heart. So.
Yeah, this is committee members' choice. We can discuss other things that come up.
No, that's fine. I want to make
sure
that we do discuss the idea of modes of transportation at some point. If it's next month, whatever. But
yeah, we can add it to the agenda for next month as an item, and that can give some people that are not here today some time to prepare and do some research on their own as well.
Thanks. Yeah, that's what I would like to do. Because come on, this is our community, and it's the homeless problem's not going away. I think we should address it, and we should address it with a proactive, positive response. And biking is one of those, in my mind, positive response. So, I mean, I'm welcome to other opinions. And I think Othniel, you're right. I think we should put it for next meeting. So.
No, it's a good idea. I wasn't aware that we actually were discussing it in the past. So it's good to know that you guys have. So
I was just kind of talking, so that was my fault. All right, I vote to adjourn.
Can I ask one question? This is Mark McKay.
Yes,
And
sir.
there's two comments. One is to Public Works, Maria and Chris. Thank you very much. The decorating, I guess a light box on Broadway and Floyd are awesome. I don't know if you guys got a chance to look at that. And they put a ton of bicycle lanes, and they're working on Windermere. So thank you very much for putting those bicycle lanes in. And then I wanted to check, and I think it was with Member O'Connell and maybe Cannadison 2 or 3 meetings ago about Floyd and University, Floyd Place and University. The intersection there, we were going to think about closing off the left turn onto Floyd Place, and maybe I would hope to even block that off so it's a closed street. So I don't know what the progress of that is. I think it kind of got tabled.
Yeah, I think that
Guy,
was
do you
an
have any-
action item, Mark, and we just haven't followed up on that. The mayor had asked about that too at our discussion on August 3rd. Not necessarily closing it, but just the speeds in that area. So that's on Guy's to-do list, basically. So
Yeah, it's
we
really not
can
a
look at that
speed issue.
left
It's
turn
more
as
of
well.
it's more of a collector street, because people are turning right onto Race and then using Floyd Place as a collector street to go into the marketplace. And also GPS turns them onto Floyd Place when they're trying to go towards Broadway, if you're going towards the west. So,
Yeah.
and then so Kent Place.
Are you talking about over by the fancy King Supers?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So King Supers and then Floyd Place and the apartments there, and then also Kent
Yeah.
Village. They're turning right, and they're using that as the collector street, and they're supposed to go down to Floyd Avenue.
We have a new community member that hasn't been officially accounted for. Tiffany.
Yes?
Oh,
Sorry. Sorry.
Yeah, that area is, we were talking about that for a while. Yeah, what do you guys think? I don't know that junction that well, other than that it seems like it's been misused for turning on, to make the quick left when you shouldn't, kind of thing. So
the issue I think is there's so much pedestrian traffic on Floyd Place because they're walking from the apartments to access that.
Is that something that
marketplace.
another committee could enforce? Should there be a new, I don't know, stoplight, stop sign, or I don't know, like what's the answer?
So just
To me, the answer would be blocking that off and then letting it so there's no access.
Okay.
But you still have to have fire access. So you could do something to the sort of like a Laddie and Floyd.
Okay.
So do a right turn only and then no left turn off of University, because that's where we get a ton of crashes and serious crashes.
That could be just passed through the city council, right?
I don't know. That Guy's the expert there.
Guy, O'Neill, what's the?
So I actually did follow up on this. The crash that I had seemed to be a little defective. So Actually, I kind of reached out to you at some point, Sergeant McKay, and I never heard back on this. And, you know, we were busy, so I got dropped. We're actually working on a larger scheme to improve stuff around there. And in the end, it might end up that trying to incorporate into that effort might make more sense. And I also would have to coordinate with Denver if I was going to provide certain restrictions, because it would affect how things operated on the Denver side of the road. So I did follow up. The crashes, it was a little hard to, my database, it was a little hard to define the difference between the crashes, because I don't think they were always labeled properly. And they're not all just Inglewood either, because the Denver, so I was actually, I was gonna, like I said, and, but even when we kind of defined that, it was, like I said, there would be incorporated, we'd probably have to incorporate Denver in this discussion. And also, we're actually working on a number of, I mean, there's, you know, there's 1,000 crashes in Inglewood a year, and we actually are looking at that area for crash reduction, and it might, in the long run, it might make sense to try to tackle at the same time we're working on some stuff on Floyd Avenue.
Well, Guy, this has been an issue that's been brought up in numerous months. Would you be willing to reach out to your counterpart in Denver County, or, you know, City of Denver? Or to your boss or someone?
Yeah, I mean, there's like 60 people in Denver that's my counterpart. So I mean, I actually have meetings today with them on safety. But so yeah, I'd have to.
This is come on. There should be some sort of juncture that, you know, prohibits this type of. I don't know. Seems dangerous to me. I think we should get it done.
Yeah, and thank you. And I'm sorry to call you out, Guy, but the crash data, northbound on University, turning left onto Floyd Place is Denver's. And the crash data is not going to be collected in Inglewood, because that's a Denver crash.
Have to coordinate with you and
what,
beyond.
More importantly is the pedestrian traffic on Floyd, the bicycle traffic. They're using that as their mode of transportation to access the marketplace, which is the benefit to the community and the Inglewood citizens.
Yeah.
It is a really weird situation there, because that Kent Place development has like a 8-foot high concrete wall all the way around it. And so the only way to get there from the neighborhood is along either Hamden or University. And that the sidewalk on Hamden is luckily like 4 or 5 feet wide, something pretty good. But on University, it's just like 2.5 feet wide for that half block there. So it is for bikes and pedestrians, it's a pretty rough spot.
Yeah. And Guy, I'm not trying to call you out. I think this is just a unique situation where the jurisdictions kind of overlap. So, I mean, I'm happy to help out and work with you or Sergeant McKay, you know, like I just think we should get it done, because this isn't going to go away. That's a weird little interjunction. So.
Yeah, so I think we can put some data together. We'll get together with or talk to Denver, and then bring something back to you at the next meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
And when you say bring back, you mean it's going to be done?
I don't know if it's going to be done, but we'll at least bring some recommendations back and compile all the data for you.
Okay.
And where we can go next.
Okay. Okay. So Tiffany, do you have anything else you want to chat about?
Not tonight, I don't think.
Okay. Greg, Chris?
I'll just, sorry, I didn't say this earlier in my second. I just want to reiterate the thanks to the city staff. I feel like we've got a lot of really great programs and improvements going on, and lots of great research, and I appreciate all of your effort.
Thanks. Yeah, I agree.
I second that.
Maria, Guy, Sergeant McKay, Chris, Groth, I think you guys are top notch. I mean that. Literally. So. Okay. I guess with that we can adjourn.
Motion to
Sounds
adjourn.
good.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Thanks, everybody.
Second. Thanks, everyone.
Love you
Good night.
guys. Talk to you soon. All right. Bye.
Hey, Maria,
Yeah.